Hi everyone, welcome to our session on the rise of social commerce in cosmetics and personal care. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Elise, the Director of International Growth at Dash Hudson, and I'm excited to be here virtually with you all. If you have any questions as we go through, you can ask in the chat and we will have some time at the end where we'll answer those questions. Dash Hudson helps top brands to create and share photos and videos that people care about. Our visual marketing software is a one-stop solution to create, measure, and predict performance, to see trends, enhance engagement, and distribute it all across organic and paid channels. And we're fortunate to work with some of the most innovative brands across industries like retail, CPG publishing, fashion, luxury, financial services, and of course, beauty. Our main goal is to help close the loop on all key visual marketing channels for brands by focusing on the performance of photos and videos for that brand's unique audience. Our software helps brands to choose the right image, inspire their audience to action, and measure the results so they can ultimately make better business decisions. Long controlled by legacy conglomerates, the beauty industry has, as we know, turned online. Once challenger brands like Ipsy and Glossier and Fenty Beauty are now household names, spanning geographies and demographics alike, and entrepreneurs are rushing to greet a new wave of consumers seeking fresh norms and niche products. And clinging to enterprise status, large-scale manufacturers are responding by acquiring their independent, trendier counterparts. And despite the fact the pandemic has negatively affected many industries, the personal care segment never seemed to stop and continued to grow. Revenue in the beauty and personal care market amounts to $500 billion US dollars in 2021, and the beauty market is expected to grow annually by 4.75%. And the market's largest segment is the personal care segment, with a market volume of 226 billion in 2021. And the market value for Western Europe in particular grew by approximately 10 billion euros between 2015 and 2020, whereas in Eastern Europe experienced an increase of roughly 5.5 billion in recent years. And what used to be an industry limited to physical stores not too long ago is now taking hold of the digital landscape at a rapid pace. Given the widespread digital connectivity, web sales are becoming a solid line of revenue for the beauty and personal care industry. And by the end of October in 2020, the UK's beauty market, which includes skincare, body care, makeup, fragrance, and men's grooming, reported a sales rise of 38% versus the same period in 2019, with sales totted up to 543 million euros. And much of this uptick could be attributed to brands moving online, according to the MPD Group. From January to October of 2020, e-commerce accounted for 41% of total prestige beauty sales in the UK versus 21% for the same period in 2019. And the way into the Winners Club unites that desire for convenience with quality products. And eMarketer reports that beauty buyers who valued quality were likely to shop directly from a cosmetics brand's website at 64%, while big box stores won shoppers on price at 28%. And this difference in quality is the brand differentiator that will make or break an e-commerce beauty brand. But how do consumers choose which beauty and personal care products to buy and where to buy them? One major contributor to this decision-making process is social media. And when asked about their primary discovery channels for online beauty brands in a global survey, 70% of respondents listed ads, recommendations, and comments seen on social media as their number one source. And consumers are around 37% more likely to discover new brands or products via ads seen on social media, to discover new brands via updates on the brand's social media page. And digital content and online video content in particular have become some of the most lucrative forms of marketing during the last decade. And nowhere is the influence of such channels more evident than in the beauty industry. Today's consumers no longer have to frequent brick and mortar stores for beauty and makeup advice, but instead expand their beauty horizons from home. Millions of digital natives are turning to tutorials and reviews on social media and on Instagram and YouTube, as we know, for the latest trends in the beauty world. And that's why we can also see, age playing a critical role in how consumers are shopping for personal care products. And as a result of entering into the job market, millennials and Gen Z have become the biggest drivers in the cosmetics business. This is especially glaring in Europe, being the largest market for cosmetics and other personal care products in the world. Even more striking, 29% of millennials and Gen Z make purchasing decisions based on media or online reviews, which is 3 times greater than that of Gen Xers and a whopping 6 times more than baby boomers. With 70% of global Gen Z shoppers making purchase decisions through Instagram and 20% of Gen Z and millennial consumers stating that they will immediately lose interest in a brand if they don't like its Instagram, today's cosmetics brands need to meet consumers where the inspiration stage happens. And this sets the stage for social proof as the key to unlocking millennials' loyalty and trust. Socially native brands and e-commerce retailers are therefore in a prime position to capture this market share. So combine that with the fact that 83% of smartphone users find that product images can be both very and extremely influential when shopping online, and it becomes clear that choosing the right content to share across digital touchpoints is a business critical activity. So content needs to be quality and it needs to cut through. So what are the main challenges that brands are running into while trying to achieve this? Well, we see 3 things coming up constantly with our brand partners in the beauty industry. The first is understanding what your consumers want. The second is creating and sourcing high quality content. And the third is choosing what content will perform and align across organic and paid channels. And we often hear that when brands are trying to make these creative decisions, it can come down to 1 or 2, maybe people's different opinions. We know there's always a lot of opinions in the room when it comes to making content decisions, which inspired us to create this little game that we're going to try out now with everyone here. So we looked at 4 different beauty brands who will remain anonymous for the purposes of this. And we've pulled 2 each of their Instagram posts that have very similar visual features and compared their performance. And these are real examples with real data. So for each quiz, you'll have a couple of seconds to review the images and either think to yourself or just pop in the chat which image you think was the top performer on Instagram in terms of engagement. So let's go. This is the first one. So we have 2 very bright eyeshadow looks shot in very, very similar style. Which do you think performed better for this brand? Image 1 or image 2? Number 1. So it performed 35% higher. And these images are so similar. How is a social editor meant to discern what's going to drive higher engagement making these decisions? Okay, another one. So 2 fresh makeup looks, same model, very similar angle, just a different crop. Which do we think was the top performer, number 1 or number 2? Number 2 had 40% higher engagement. Okay. Oops. Oh no. I've just showed you all the answers. Okay. Well, the product shot, this is a texture shot of a face mask. We know these work really well. So we have image number 1 or image number 2. Number 2 performed 45% better in terms of engagement. And then this next one is my favorite. Eyeshadow palettes, very, very similar visually. Who thinks number 1 performed better? Who thinks number 2 performed better? Number 1 actually performed 100% better. And when you have an array of campaign imagery like this that is very similar stylistically, knowing what works for a social audience is crucial. And image number 1 clearly struck a much stronger chord with this brand's community and garnered exactly double the amount of engagement. So you might be asking or thinking, what is the common thread here? And the answer is, we don't know. Nobody does. And that is why we need a little bit of help from resources like artificial intelligence to help us make these decisions. And when you have conflicting opinions in the room, like we've talked about, wouldn't it be nice to have your audience in the room with you to tell you what they prefer ahead of posting? And that's essentially what artificial intelligence can do to help brands get a deeper understanding of their audience's visual preferences and to evolve their online visual presence over time as trends and the world evolves. So when we consider the fact that 90% of information transmitted to the brain is visual and it's processed 60,000 times faster than text, we begin to understand how big of a factor visuals are in a successful social commerce strategy. And so how can you always ensure that you're putting the best visuals out there for your brand? The use case here for computer vision in this scenario is game-changing for marketers. And at Dash Hudson, we've combined computer vision and artificial intelligence and applied this dynamic duo to the performance of photos and videos. And we call this technology vision. So vision is at work through the entire Dash Hudson platform, streamlining content management and surfacing visual trends. And the best part is it even predicts how content will perform with your audience before you publish it. Essentially, vision sees a photo or video the same way the human eye does, picking up on thousands of visual elements within it, like tone, texture, depth of field, and so on. And for videos, the technology analyzes each individual frame of content. And vision then ties these data points back to a brand's historical content performance data across owned and paid content to interpret what visuals your consumer responds to. And vision surfaces engaging visual trends as well as providing predictions about what will perform by building a brand-specific algorithm which is unique to your brand's audience. It will tell you whether an image is likely to be a star performer, which is in the top 25% of average engagement, an average performer, or a low performer, and this technology works for videos as well. And not only does it help teams to save time, but it also reduces the risk of sacrificing an engagement rate while trying out new things. And the best part is, since vision is working in real time, it's always learning and growing as your consumers and their tastes evolve. And because vision sees images and photos a lot like we do, it makes your entire media library searchable. Our technology is helping brand teams to save time, on average 4 hours a week, finding and curating content. And the visual search functionality makes your entire media library searchable through any keyword or reverse image search. And it's not just reading metadata or file names, it's looking within an image or video to surface it, so your content's always at your fingertips. And having access to this kind of technology is like having your consumer in the room with you when making strategic decisions, but in a way that doesn't compromise the brand, and above all, by helping you save valuable time and money and preventing bias from intruding into the strategic decision-making process. So let's get into a few case studies of how brands are actually using this technology. So we have an example from one of our long-time and well-loved brand partners, Way Hair Care. So the Way loves using Dash Hudson to optimize their product launches, and the Way team put together an Instagram-first launch strategy for their new line of rollerball fragrances. And the strategy included a lot of activation of their influencer community, as well as testing out a few new influencer friends from the fragrance space, which was a new category for the brand. After the first wave of the launch, the team looked through their user-generated content and they used Dash Hudson's AI tools to identify which influencers and brand fan content would perform best on the Way's Instagram feed. And when resharing this top performing content, the brand saw high rates of engagement across the board, and the fragrance line sold out within a matter of hours. They also used the star performance predictions to find out which influencers in the fragrance space they might want to work with again for the next phase of the launch, which were the full-sized bottles of scents. And insights like these help brands to move towards digital personalization for their unique community of brand followers, fans, and ambassadors. Another example of a team that relies heavily on vision comes from one of our direct-to-consumer partners, Colourpop Cosmetics. Colourpop uploads in-house created content into their Dash Hudson media library to see Vision's performance predictions before the team goes live with creative. They only choose and share content that is rated as a top performer, so with that little gold star that you can see there. And the team also uses these performance predictions to determine which images they send for editing even. And vision not only saves the team a ton of time and it makes the team more efficient, but it also gives Colourpop more flexibility on the resources that are managing the brand's social platforms. And it's extremely important at Colourpop for them to listen to their audience because they're vertically integrated. They can use Dash Hudson to listen and respond quickly and even create new products based on feedback they get from social media. And the team at Colourpop sees UGC as a really strong indicator of trends and of what's to come. And generally, if a trend is starting, they say that you'll see it first across user-generated content. So when the team at Colourpop sees a trend bubbling up in UGC, they can then use Dash Hudson's Find Similar functionality, which helps them to tap into high-performing content in that style that they know will work for the brand, or they can get creative and recreate that kind of content imagery in-house. And Colourpop feels strongly that the ability to test trends early on gives them an opportunity to really stay ahead of the curve. Now, they might be thinking that these kind of strategies could only work for a direct-to-consumer or indie brand, but the next example shows how not only can this technology and social-first mentality work well for large corporate brands, it's also a shift that needs to happen for long-standing brands to be able to adapt quickly to market changes and to meet the current needs and demands of the consumer. One of our very large CPG, skincare and grooming partners used vision successfully in the process of creating original content. So the social team at this brand used vision on site and in real time during a photo shoot for a men's grooming campaign. They were uploading the images into the software live during the shoot and getting instant feedback in terms of predictions on what was going to perform on social. And the team used these rapid insights to really help guide different aspects of the shoot and the creative direction for the shoot. And for instance, Vision was recommending the images where the men, the models, were touching their beards as high performers. So they were then able to instantly pivot while they had the models, the set, and then make sure they were really getting the content that was going to perform well. So the team shot more of these looks and other kind of high predicted styles. And when they published this content on Instagram, it was one of the most successful social campaigns the brand had ever had. The campaign garnered 1.28 million in total organic reach and saw a 60% increase in the engagement above the brand's typical average engagement rate. They also saw a 60% increase in followers to their account throughout the duration of the campaign, which really are incredible results. So to round out this talk, I want to leave you with 3 key pieces of advice that McKinsey has laid out in their recent perspectives on retail and consumer goods report for marketing executives to keep top of mind in 2021 before we get to the questions. So the first is that consumers have changed where and how they engage, and marketing spending should reflect this. The second is to stay relevant across multiple touch points, whether that's your brand's website, platforms, or e-retailers, and choose imagery that your audience care about. And the third is to allocate resources in line with the journey shifts, increasing digital engagement with social influencers and direct to consumer and away from out of home, print, and trade marketing. And that's it. Thank you very much. I'd like to get to some questions now. It's the best bit.
Hi, Elise. Hi, thanks so much for that. That was a great talk and a lot of information there. You used some great examples of how brands are doing social commerce well. So thank you for imparting all of your knowledge. I must confess, though, I got quite a few of those answers wrong throughout your speech. I mean, I'm not quite sure what that means. Does it mean I'm a bad customer? I don't know. But yeah, we're going to weigh in now with some questions. We've had quite a lot come in. So if we don't get round to all of them, I'm sure Elise would be happy to answer them offline. Yeah. So we've had one come in from Victor, and they say, "Hi Elise, how do you expect live video commerce to develop in the future in Europe?"
That's a really interesting question. I was speaking on a webinar with a director of marketing from Rare Beauty, which is Selena Gomez's beauty brand, and she was talking about how they had just done a live shopping event with newness. It's like modern day QVC. It's like QVC for Gen Z. Yeah, I think it's a really exciting space, and there are brands that are testing it, and it's kind of like the early days of any new platform. The brands that get in early and test it and really figure out, is this somewhere where they should or shouldn't play and should or shouldn't kind of engage, are the brands that will end up doing better in the long run. We always see it's those early quick movers that tend to perform better. But I think, yeah, it's an exciting space to test out if you've got kind of, you know, the team and the means to be able to do it. I definitely think it's something to go for. I think it'll grow. Cool.
Okay, well, watch that space then, everybody. We've also had one come through from Mariana. I hope I've said that correctly. And they've asked, how do you see the subscriptions movement? There are many brands combining social commerce with exclusive content, expert recommendations, all for a monthly fee. What are the main challenges in this format?
In terms of, I don't know that I have the right information to speak to specific challenges of that format, but seems like, I'm just thinking of really community-led brands, you know, partners that we work with who have been championing and listening to their communities from day one, like the Inky List, where they're really taking into account what their consumers say and listening to that advice. I think it's quite a nice kind of wraparound to provide that service, because people are looking for more education around products and they want to hear more from brands and to get that advice and feel more a part of it. So I can imagine one of the challenges being able to be consistent and keep up with it, because once you've committed to a subscription, you've got to be delivering month over month, and it's got to be really, really top quality, you know, for people to continue that subscription-based payment. So I would say preparation is probably one of the biggest challenges, because you want to be able to start and not stop. So you can't kind of take it lightly going into it, I'd imagine. But yeah, that's my...
Yeah, it's an interesting point, because a lot of brands sort of with their customers get communities together sort of quite naturally. But if you're then subscribing to that, yeah, you want to make sure that it's always coming in. It's a really good point. We've also had another one. Another viewer has asked, do you favour entry in other countries with social media and a marketplace without physical stores?
Favour entry in terms of...
Yeah, do you favour entries maybe into other countries with social media and a marketplace without physical stores?
I don't know that we would favour that over any, you know, over a different format. I'm not 100% on the question. Is it kind of...
Okay. Well, I'm sure if
expanding into a new market.
Yeah, maybe if you'd like to get in touch with Elise offline, that might be a really good place to connect, all through the community tab on Swapcard.
We do work with brands that are, you know, exploring new markets and figuring out ways to kind of start building their community and just get on the ground, and then, you know, whether they're going direct to consumer or through retailers. But yeah, happy to go more into that offline if I get some more details.
Yeah, fab. And I think we've probably got time for one more. And Julia has asked, how long does it take for vision to work? What does it need in order to create the algorithm?
So vision, it works in real time, and as long as you've got more than 500 posts on Instagram, it's ready within 24 hours of connecting your account. So it's really, really quick, and like we've said, brands often use it live on photo shoots because of the speed of the recommendations and the predictions that it can give you. So yeah, once that initial kind of day is set up, then it's good to go and always learning in real time.
Fab. Yeah, well then, very responsive. Well, Elise, I think that's about all we've got time for. So thank you again for your topic. It's been a pleasure having you on with us today. And I hope you've enjoyed answering all of those questions we've had from the audience.
I have. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.